I mean, as long as Beachbody's around, which is going to be around for a long time. I mean, if you've watched the numbers, if you've watched Carl, if you've watched the growth, it ain't going anywhere, and I'm not either. But I mean, and that's you know, I hear people say, I can't ever get to Diamond, I can't ever do this, I can't get my team to do this, but I watch these coaches, these events are, maybe I'll go. You know, maybe I'll go if it's convenient, and they don't make it a non-negotiable. It is non-negotiable to me. I get to these events because this has solidified my belief in Beachbody. It has, I built amazing friendships. I mean, I have people who are coming from Houston too here. You know, they're driving and they see what's the word? The benefit of coming to these events, and everybody knows that, you know, I'm going to be there no matter what. And so I have built a culture in my team where people are now seeing the benefit too. They're going, new coaches are going, they're driving, they're, you know, trying to get these things together. But I mean, this is where you build friendships. This is where your, you know, fellow teammates, regardless of what team they're on, even if they're not in your downline, they become your family. You get to know them. People know me. They know my husband, Ryan. They know our kids. They know things about me that, you know, because we become friends. And so I want to, you know, I guess that's my biggest message to everybody is get to these events, get to Summit, get registered for, you know, the Fall Classic. I'm watching people go, like, team up with people on our team that live in different states. This is how they become, you know, very, very in tune with each other and become like family, because you can. I mean, like I said, half of you raised your hand that you signed up under a stranger. I'm pretty sure you probably have a good relationship with them. So it can go the same way. We are growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just, there's a reason it's team in Team Beachbody is because it's a family, and that's another reason I'm not going anywhere. Because I mean, like you saw Michael ask Carl, you know, do you ever get tired of drinking Shakeology? Yeah, I'm the same way as him. I don't get tired of it. I'll drink it every day of my life, and I love the products. I love, you know, every time I watch Carl, you know, announce that to Tony, I cry because, you know, he is somebody who I've spent time with. He is somebody who changed my life. I started with P90X, and you become so attached to these people. But I mean, and that is why I'm here. Not because of P90, not because of 21 Day Fix, not because of the 6 flavors of Shakeology, but because I have someone who belongs now. I mean, I have a family, because I don't have family. I never belonged, and I have people who just get me, even though probably a lot of us have totally different stories. You get me, we connect somehow, and I mean, this is what you guys obviously see is beneficial, but you need to get it in your team's head. Help them. They are your family. They're your little babies. So you go and protect them. You wouldn't just send your kid to somewhere, you know, and set them up for failure. So that's like, this is what I need everybody to understand, is that this is a family thing, and your team is not just your little minions that you tell them to do things. They are your family, and you protect them like your children. I mean, it's amazing the relationship I have with people. So can all of you, you know, really work hard for the next 3 months to make sure you get your team set up to, number one, see the benefit in these events, and number two, to make sure that they feel comfortable in going. You have that commitment? Okay. Because I mean, I remember what it was like to go to my first Super Saturday. My husband and I went. One of my personally sponsored coaches went. I never met, and then somebody that I was, you know, a prospect for him. And we went to this little teeny church. Stacy was there. He spoke. It's not as organized as this, and this is, you know, Super Saturdays have evolved over time, but I mean, I was so nervous. I didn't want to work out in front of anybody, not even in front of my husband. I mean, my self-esteem was so low. It was June of 2012, my first one, and I was terrified, but I went, and I didn't let fear of being judged. I didn't, you know, because it is scary. I mean, how many of you were scared the first time you went to Super Saturday? How many of you are the first timers? Were you scared coming? Like nervous? I mean, I was. Maybe it's just me. I had really low self-esteem. I don't know. But it was, you know, it was terrifying. And it's so easy now. I walk in when people know me. I'm comfortable. My self-esteem, you know, my confidence has definitely, you know, increased. But I have to remember how terrifying it was to go into a room of strangers, have to work out. Like one of my friends is going to one Utah, and she did say that they're probably doing Insanity Max 30, and I was like, oh God, I feel horrible for you, because, you know, that's it. And she was like, thanks a lot. And I'm like, no, I'm like, that, I probably wouldn't have went. But, you know, I remember what, yeah, I don't like to work out. That's that's a whole other story. I don't like to work out, so you can build a really successful business and a strong team, and you don't have to love to work out. Sorry, Joel. But I do it. You know, so, I see I lost my train of thought. Yeah, see, squirrel. I was finding things. Story of my life. You know, the biggest thing is to just get to these events, remember how scary it was, tell them what it is that they're going to be walking into. Because it's so easy if you, in anything in life, like I said, somebody just gets it. It's so hard to understand, to wrap your head around why somebody else isn't just ready to join you, especially if it's somebody close to you. But it's the same thing. We go to these events, we're comfortable. This is normal. If you've been to Super Saturday more than once, you know what to expect. And so it's so easy to drill into your team, get to Super Saturday, get to this register, and they don't know what they're getting themselves into. So you tell them. Because I mean, like I said, I had like an epiphany last time. I'm like, nobody told me that my coach said get to Super Saturday. I went because I'm a very obedient person when it comes to, you know, certain things. So I went, but I didn't know what to expect. So now, you know, I have a blog post and I have videos on YouTube telling people what to expect so that they know, you know. You're setting them up for failure because they think that, oh God, if they just started their journey, or if they're introverts, or if, you know, they are just scared of being judged, to walk into a fitness event, you are expecting to see a bunch of Tony and Autumns. I mean, that's what I was. And I was expecting to see a bunch of, like, you know, turbo people, you know, doing, well, actually, that was the first workout we did, was turbo, which was horrible. I would never recommend doing that because you, like, I don't know my right from my left, and it was just a mess. He said I did good, but I don't think I did good. But, you know, it's scary. So I've tried to explain to people what to expect, and I post a lot of pictures so that they know. Because honestly, if somebody is 300 pounds and they just started working out and they're following CAT like I do, on 21-day fix and all day, they're coming in thinking like, oh my God, I'm, you know, gonna die, and I'm, you know, there's all these people. So I post pictures, and there are people who are like, wow, there's people who are overweight there. And that's one thing that is so easy to forget and not share. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody who is, you know, at midpoint in their journey or still has a 100-pound slew. But that is the biggest part, is to tell these people, tell everyone out there that Summit is not full of, you know, Tony Hortons, the grooves. Because, you know, if you're out there and you're like posting like, you know, abs and stuff, people just assume that's what we're all about. And they don't realize that you don't have to have Danielle Katz's abs to, you know, be a coach. So, you know, and coming to these events have been like one of the, you know, huge aha moments. And I went to the Dallas event. Has anybody been to a Dallas event? Okay, you know that it's worth driving to, right? I went to the first one. That was my first actual corporate event in August of 2012. Did anybody go there where Saki was? Yeah. Okay. I sat there, again, scared. I drove 4 hours, left my family at home. This is when I was working full time, so it was, you know, it's an investment. All of you probably, there's a few people who brought kids, but a lot of you left your spouse, left your kids, left your dog, whoever, and, you know, are investing hours. I have some of, like, people on my team who are like their dogs or their kids, so we don't want to leave them out. But, you know, to come here, and it's a huge investment in money, time, and I applaud everybody who does that. But, you know, I did the same thing. I gave up a whole day. I got in the car with one of my first sponsored coaches I'd never met, drove 4 hours, and I went and I sat there and I listened to Caroline Van Zandt, Jimmy Hayes Nelson, Danielle Katz, who was in this time, the Hudgens, Amber Bailey, all these different people, and I sat there and I just was like, whoa, I'll never get to where they are. I want to be, but I never will. And I sat there and I was on my phone the whole time, which Arnold always points out, but, you know, when I was listening to what they were saying, and I was sharing with people on my team and sharing with the world what I was doing, and I think that solidifies people, you know, who are watching me, that I get to these events, but I was sitting there taking in everything they said, and there were just certain little nuggets that they said that have stuck in my mind. And if you follow any of the top coaches, the elite coaches, the founding coaches, you'll see that they all have embraced the 3 vital behaviors. I hope you all know what the 3 vital behaviors are. If not, then you need to figure it out. But they do. And the great thing about these events is that these top coaches are all embracing the 3 vital behaviors, but they all share how they do it differently. And that's the great thing is you don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to do what Melissa McAllister's doing. You don't have to do what Danielle Katz is doing, Caroline Van Zandt, any of the people that I've watched. But you have to do the 3 vital behaviors. And sometimes when you listen to different people say it, it's like Jimmy Hayes Nelson and I were talking about, that if you hear it from somebody else, it clicks. All of us are doing the same thing, but we just do it differently or teach it differently or just say something differently, and hearing it from a different perspective clicks. So that's why these events are great. I had one of my coaches in Omaha, somewhere in Nebraska, and she went to Doug Fitzgerald, who's the founding coach. He has the Automatic CEO. He's amazing. But she went to one of his events about running challenges, and I told her the same thing, about doing things, but he worded it some way and he said something that clicked, and I watched her come back from Super Saturday, and just everything changed with her attitude, well, not attitude, but I guess the way she was building her business, her aha moments of that. So this is the same thing. It's like, if you are having a hard time and you're stuck at Diamond, stuck at Emerald, stuck at the Lucid Ruby, or if you have coaches who are stuck, get them to events. And it's so easy. I have people, somebody said the other day, a coach said, she wanted to meet me and a few coaches and said, come visit her. And I was like, well, why don't you come to Summit? We're all there. And she's like, I don't feel like I'm worthy to go. And that it was an aha moment that the people feel that way. So this is why you need to build relationships with your teams to be able to explain to them what it is. Because they think that you have to be blah, 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 star diamonds to get to this. You have to be whatever. But I mean, the people who are stuck need to be at the events. They need to be here. There is no such thing as worthy, unworthy, whatever. Because you're going to hear things that, sometimes hearing it from your coach is like blah, 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 or she has to say that, or he has to say that. So hearing from a different perspective, this is why getting on the national wake-up calls are important too, to hear things, because there's just these nuggets. And so when I went to the corporate, first corporate event in August of 2012, I went there, and I remember just certain things that Melissa McAllister said, Caroline Van Zandt said, Danielle said, and I immediately put it into action. I didn't try to reinvent the wheel, and that's one thing Melissa McAllister said, is stop trying to reinvent the wheel. I know tons of coaches who just reinvent the wheel. They think they should do it better, or whatever, and I listened to Danielle talking about being yourself, and I did. I do the same things that they do, 3 vital behaviors, but I do it my way, with my personality. And there's so many people who try to model these top coaches and use their verbiage, use their tactics, and it's great. It's great to use different ideas, collective ideas, but if that doesn't fit your personality, your audience is going to know that that is not you, and they're not going to connect. So I took everything they did, and I put it into action immediately, and it worked. So the thing is, getting to events were great. I credit, a couple of these people for my success, and I tell them all the time. And these people that I watched up there saying, God, they're just amazing, and I just want to be like them, but I don't think I will. They are like some of my close friends now, And I realized that going to these events, that these elite coaches are just like me and you, and they all started off exactly where all of you were as a coach, and then enrolled, and then whatever, and we get better with time. But if you don't get to events, if you don't listen, if you don't put the tips that everybody graciously shares into action, you're never going to be successful, and you're never going to realize that these are normal people. So that's just one thing that I say is get to events, because you can be elite. You will be elite if you get to events, if you listen to National Wake-Up Call, if you do what Beachbody says. I mean, there's a lot of people who are like, I don't have time for personal development. I don't know if I can get to Super Saturday. It's 4 times a year. I mean, host one in your living room if you have to. But and it's funny too, every Super Saturday, every success trip, every leadership trip, I sign a ton of coaches in that time, which is really hard to sponsor a coach when you're gone and you're at events. It's really hard. I don't do the whole getting started right call. It's a week and a half later. But it is because they see this. They're every time you go, so these are business builders, not just for you, but for people watching you. So I want to make sure that you go and you build relationships with your coaches, find out what their fear is, and explain to them what this is, not just go. Because it's really hard. If somebody just told you to go somewhere, and you meant leaving your family, paying them anywhere from $10 to $35, and you didn't know what it was, would you go? No, I mean, I wouldn't. So explain to them, where it is. And the thing is, listen to what people say, the speakers say, and see how you can apply it in your life, and just do it. I mean, just do it.